Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into the invisible forces that shape our decisions every single day. We're talking about the hidden bugs in our mental software, and trust me, once you see them, you'll start noticing them absolutely everywhere.
Okay, let's just jump right in with a really powerful real-world example from the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. Two different news agencies took photos of pretty much the same situation, people wading through floodwaters, carrying food. But just look at how differently the captions describe the exact same action. On one side, it's looting. On the other, it's finding.
So what is going on here? I mean, it's pretty unlikely that both journalists consciously decided to be unfair. The folks writing these captions were probably just trying to describe what they saw. But something else, something automatic and unconscious, was guiding their choice of words.
Well, the answer lies in what psychologists call cognitive bias. The best way to think about it is as a collection of bugs in your brain's operating system. And these bugs aren't random. They're predictable patterns of error that, believe it or not, affect all of us.
So at its core, cognitive bias is all about mental shortcuts. Researchers Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky basically pioneered this field. They showed that our brains rely on what they called heuristics to make sense of a really complex world. Now, these shortcuts are super efficient, but yeah, they often lead to these systematic errors in judgment.
And this slide right here illustrates a really crucial distinction. A cognitive bias is an unconscious processing error, right? It's an automatic glitch. A social prejudice, on the other hand, is a conscious belief or attitude. So you can be totally, explicitly against prejudice and still be influenced by unconscious bias.
These mental bugs, they come in a ton of different flavors. One study that was just looking at health questionnaires managed to identify 48 different types of bias. We don't have time for all of them, of course, but let's meet a few of the most common ones that pop up in our daily lives.
I love this quote. It's such a great entry point for our first bias, survivorship bias. It reminds us to look at things from the perspective of those who didn't make it. See, we have this tendency to focus only on the success stories, the survivors, while completely ignoring all the failures. We see the one triumphant startup, but forget the thousands that went bust. The failures, kind of like the enemy in the quote, often have way more to teach us, but their stories are silent.
Next up, we have the bias from our opening example, implicit bias. Just like it says here, these are the unconscious stereotypes that mess with our decisions. It's the reason a person could be described as looting while another is finding. It's an unconscious association shaped by years and years of cultural exposure.
And this experiment just brilliantly illustrates the power of implicit bias. For decades, major orchestras were dominated by men. The judges swore they were choosing based on skill alone. But then, they started holding blind auditions, where they literally couldn't see the musician. And what happened? The number of women hired shot up dramatically. The bias was there all along, it was just unconscious.
And now for what is maybe the most powerful and pervasive bug of them all, confirmation bias. To put it simply, our brains just love to be right. This bias is our built-in tendency to notice, to seek out, and to remember information that supports what we already think is true.
You see this absolutely everywhere. It's why your social media feed becomes an echo chamber just showing you more of what you already like. It's why we remember the one time our horoscope was spot on and forget the 50 times it was completely wrong. Our brains are actively filtering reality to match what we already expect to see.
Now, these glitches aren't just harmless quirks. They have profound, real-world consequences. They scale up from individual choices to massive systemic problems, and now they're even seeping into the artificial intelligence that we're creating.
This is a staggering statistic from multiple hiring studies. Researchers sent out identical resumes, and the only thing they changed was the name to sound stereotypically white or black. The result? The white names got 50% more callbacks. That is implicit bias directly impacting people's livelihoods and keeping inequality alive.
And now we're facing a whole new frontier. As we build artificial intelligence, we are training it on data that we created, data that is just saturated with all of our own historical and societal biases. We are essentially teaching our own glitches to our machines.
This slide shows a perfect example of this in action. A study gave an AI image generator some simple neutral prompts, but as you can see, the results were anything but neutral. Ask for a firefighter, you almost always get a man. Ask for a nurse, you almost always get a woman. And an inmate, usually a person of color. The AI isn't hateful, it's just a mirror, reflecting the stereotypes in the millions of images it learned from.
This leads to a really dangerous feedback loop, what some researchers are calling a snowball effect. Our biased data creates biased AI. Then, we interact with that biased AI, which subtly reinforces our original biases, making them even stronger. The machine learns from us, and then we learn from the machine. So what on earth can we do about it?
Well, the good news is we are not powerless here. While we can't just delete these biases from our brains, they're pretty hardwired. We can become aware of them and build systems and habits to counteract their influence.
Okay, so on a personal level, the single most important strategy is to just slow down. Our biases thrive on fast automatic thinking. So by consciously questioning our gut reactions, actively looking for information that might prove us wrong, and practicing what's called metacognition, literally thinking about our own thinking process, we can start to catch these glitches in action.
And for our systems and our AI, the solutions have to be built in right from the start. This means intentionally training AI on balanced and fair data, constantly auditing algorithms to check for discriminatory outcomes, and this one's crucial, always keeping a human in the loop for important decisions. Having a diverse team is also key, because they're way more likely to spot cultural blind spots that a homogeneous team would totally miss.
So here's the bottom line. Our brains are built to take shortcuts. True intelligence isn't about not having biases. It's about knowing they exist and developing the wisdom to know when to pause, step off that beaten path, and deliberately take the scenic route. So I'll leave you with a final question to think about.